everyone. Today I want to speak about a life experience I've had, which isn't normally talked about too much, and it's what is it like to have a chronic illness. And the reason I want to speak about it is because I've been reading some really great articles lately from other young women who are living with chronic illnesses, and they've been speaking about what it's like. So I wanted to share my own story. So soon after I graduated from college, I was diagnosed with an illness called endometriosis. It's an immune hormonal disease. It took me I had been going to doctors for about 4.5 years before I finally got a diagnosis. And it took a really long time because they thought I was too young to have this illness. I think these are probably issues a lot of women or girls face, especially if they're really young and going to the doctor. I think the doctors tend to brush us off because we're women, and they just treated me like I was mostly just crazy as opposed to sick. And I think also then your age factors into it, because I was told over and over again I was too young to have this illness, that it only affects women in menopause, which is completely inaccurate. But because of that, they refused to even really help me or test me for any of this stuff, or even really work with me. So, and I imagine this is probably really common, unfortunately. And so by the time I was diagnosed, I was very, very sick. And for me, it was something that the fact I was so young really had a huge impact on me, because I just graduated from college. I was working in the tech industry, and I kind of felt like, when I was in college and making that transition, I had all these dreams and all these goals, and then everything, even though I'd been sick for so long, I'd been able to sort of be in denial so I could still keep going. And once I got the diagnosis, it was kind of the end of that. And as well as by the time I was diagnosed, I mean, my body was just completely collapsing, and I was deteriorating really quickly. So for me, it was like all of a sudden everything I had hoped for and dreamed and just kind of went down the drain, and I didn't know what this meant. I didn't think I was gonna survive this illness because I was so sick by that point. I had a lot of concerns about this illness possibly turning into cancer, which can happen with endometriosis, and due to where the illness had always affected my body, I was really concerned about that. I felt like it was so hopeless. And so for a really long time, up until I met my acupuncturist, and that was kind of when I started to finally feel some hope. But with something like this, even as I got better and started to get healthier, if you have like an immune disease, you can be perfectly healthy one day, and then the next day you're like insanely sick and you can't get out of bed, and then you can be fine again like a few days later. So it's also really unpredictable, and that can make it really hard to maintain any sort of normal relationships, whether they're friendships or work or boyfriends or anything like that. I know that when I got sick, I lost some of my friends and people I'd known, I cut out of my life on purpose because they were toxic, and everyone else just kind of left. And part of it was because I didn't really know how to explain to them what was going on, and I felt like when I told people, they had no idea what I was talking about, so they just didn't get it, or they would think that I'm suddenly not showing up for things because I'm flaky or I don't want to hang out with them. Like, they wouldn't get that I really am sick. And even as I was getting healthier and I could start sort of doing things again, it was still kind of like unpredictable, because you might be healthy the day you make plans, and then the next day you're sick, and you're kind of like, and then people think you're it's something else, when it really is just your health it becomes very much a day-to-day thing with a chronic illness. So when people don't really get that, Um, so I think with me, I lost a lot of my friends, and then I couldn't work anymore because I was so sick by the time I was diagnosed, and my body was just rapidly deteriorating. I could barely, got my sickest, I couldn't really walk upstairs, so let alone like go to a job. And I was able to work for a while doing sort of, I was doing promotional modeling work, which you can just work for a few hours and make a good amount of money, and it's not like, you can schedule yourself whenever you want. So I was able to do that up until I wasn't able to, and then, it was like, so one thing after another for me was taken away. I did have a boyfriend throughout much of the beginning of my illness, and that ended like really badly. He actually broke up with me I had to go to the cancer center at one point to get a really painful biopsy done, and I came home that day and talked to him on the phone, and he actually broke up with me, and it was someone I was like madly in love with, and it completely shattered my heart. And after that, I kind of just briefly, dated on and off, but overall I was like, I'm done. I'm so done with having boyfriends. Like, I don't ever want to, give so much to a man, and then he just sort of, when things get bad, he just leaves. It's like, it really, that was really heartbreaking, because I had already felt like I was losing, everything was just slipping away from me. My money was going away, so all my money was going towards fighting this illness, so that was leaving. My friends were leaving, I couldn't work, and now my boyfriend was leaving, and I really ended up having everything stripped away from me, and that's kind of been a process I've been in. Even as I'm healing, it's still kind of, a lot of things have been stripped away over and over again. But I don't know if everyone who has a chronic illness, if it would be that bad. I know that a lot talk about feeling really isolated because you can't necessarily just go out and maybe do all the normal things your friends can do, so you do spend a lot of time at home alone. It can be very lonely. But I also think that there's probably some people who end up with, a great support system, and their friends step up and are there for them, and their, maybe boyfriend just is right there fighting with them, and they have, supportive jobs. So I think it can really depend as well. I don't necessarily think everyone's experience will be as extreme as mine, but it does sound like a lot do end up being isolated. And just having the illness itself is very isolating and very lonely, because no one really understands it. And even when I was really sick, I had looked into some support groups for endometriosis, but there was a lot of, I was worried about people getting too stuck in the idea that you can't get better, and kind of us sharing how bad it is, as opposed to, I really wanted to get healthy, so I really wanted to find people who would help me with that, and would at least, try to help me fight this and try to help me overcome it. So, and as far as I feel now, I feel like I've definitely successfully healed the endometriosis part of the illness. So, but there's also the immune disease part of the illness, which, even if you get rid of the physical endometriosis part, there's still that part that you have to learn how to live with, and that's something I'm still learning, but I think I'm starting to really get it. But so that's still a part of your life. I think you can absolutely, though, improve your health greatly, and get it to a point where you can still achieve your dreams and stuff, but it can be a process. At least for me, is a really long process of learning how to sort of live with this, instead of just either being in denial or fighting against it, or and even in there's some good things that have come out of it. I feel like one thing that happened is, the sicker I got, the more I kind of started to get that mentality of, okay, I'm not going to be around that much longer, so what do I want to leave behind when I go? And it really kind of made it very easy for me to step into my power and my voice as a woman, and to really speak out and start spending a lot of time writing about everything that, and blogging about everything that sort of, that upsets me, that needs to change, that all these things women, girls are too afraid to say. And it was kind of like, well, I'm probably not even going to be here that much longer, so I guess I don't need to be afraid of losing, or be afraid of losing anything, because I've already lost everything. Um, so in there was that sort of freedom that really pushed me down that path, and to really find my voice. So there's something in there that was very empowering and very necessary, because I think prior to being diagnosed, there was a lot in my life that, I wasn't being truthful about or authentic about. And I think a lot of things I was avoiding that I needed to face, and this illness very strongly forced me to do that. So there's some parts of it that really can be a blessing. And so I guess that's been my experience with having this. And yeah. So I would absolutely love for people to subscribe to my channel. I know a lot of you guys have, and I really love when I get new subscriptions, and it makes me really happy. And I send you guys, whenever someone subscribes, I send you lots of love and blessings. So if you want to keep updated on everything I'm talking about and my latest videos, definitely subscribe at the end. And I will talk to you guys next time.